I'm sitting here like this for this shot because it takes me forever to make my body do anything. I can't even look into the camera and smile. But it turns out that with enough coaching and assistance, non-speakers like me can be taught to type, and with the ability to make language comes the ability to think abstractly and systematically, and with the ability to think comes the ability to participate in the world, especially if the world will be a little patient. And that's what I want to tell you about today. To give you an idea of what's involved, I want to share with you a video of the first moment I was taught to spell and think abstractly. I am 12 years old. I think of it as the best day of my life, but here's how it started. Not an auspicious beginning. Notice that I won't even sit down in the chair where I am expected. However, a remarkable teacher whom I have never met before, takes my resistance in stride, and eventually the camera operator gives up and swings over to me. That's me, sitting on my mother's lap screaming my head off. Now look what happens. I am asked to answer a question.
I'm nervous because now you're going to think about why you are nervous. Because I have to work? Or do you think it is a new place? It can be both, but which is more important? I have to work or it is a new place? It's a new place, that's why, okay.
Let's look at it again more slowly. Soma did not rush to console me as anyone else in my world would have, but she also did not ignore my distress, she addressed it. And instead of telling me that I was okay, she asked me a question about my experience. She didn't say what's the matter because answering that would have been beyond me. Remember, I couldn't speak. Instead, she made two plausible guesses about what was bothering me, that I was in a new place or that I didn't want to work, and she gave me a choice. Very respectfully she said, "It can be both, but which is more important?" She assumed that I could make a judgment about which of two things was more important. No one, in all my history of special ed, had asked me to compare two ideas. Then she put answering the question within my physical ability by going up to me and holding the two pieces of paper far enough apart so I had to make a real choice and could answer with a very crude flap of my hand. And notice that I stop crying when I am considering and answering the question. Now, taking the answer I chose, Soma proceeds to show me how to spell it. We are spelling new place, and if you look very carefully you can see that by the time I get to the A, C, E in place, I am already scanning for the letters.
C and place, easy as that.
There is something else going on too. Soma and I are in a power struggle over whether or not I will sit down. She keeps trying and I keep refusing. So she uses that as the basis for the next question she is going to ask me.
What would you say? You might want to check on that. Sitting or standing? So I'm standing, and we are going to spell standing.
And then we spell standing. To make it easier to spell, Soma is using boards with letter holes so big that it takes 3 of them to hold the whole alphabet. Half an hour later, I am sitting in the chair, and Soma shows me a board with the whole alphabet on it. And look at my smile when I see it. The letter board with the smaller holes is harder to use, but I'm smiling because I get it now. All the words I have been hearing all my life are made up of these letters, and the words I have been hearing are the same things as the words I have seen printed, which are the same things as the words I can now make myself by sticking the pencil into the holes. Initially, she had me spell words which she had written and I had chosen, so we both knew what the letters were going to be. Making language myself was exciting enough without making up what the words were going to be. But 37 minutes into my first session with her we get a word I think of myself.
Any word that comes to your mind when you are thinking about table. Okay, any word that comes, let me see. Think about it. Keep going, get it? H, good, it has to be a word. A, good, keep going, H-A. R, okay, there you are, at D, hard. Table is hard. H-A-R-D, hard.
Look what went into those first few minutes. And 13 years later I got my ALB from the extension school. I am by no means the only non-speaker to do well in college. In 2012, Virginia Breen gave a TED-Med talk at the Kennedy Center about the poetry that her then 14-year-old daughter Elizabeth Bonker had written after she learned to spell.
You see, my 14-year-old daughter Elizabeth should be up here giving this talk, but she can't because she can't speak.
And last weekend, 10 years later, Elizabeth graduated at the top of her class at Rollins College and became the first non-speaker valedictorian, having typed her address into a text-to-speech computer.
God gave you a voice. Use it.
So you can see that we are reachable and teachable and long to participate in and contribute to society. Unfortunately, whenever a non-speaker accomplishes something remarkable, people tend to say, "Oh, you're one in a million." But Elizabeth and I are sure we are not. On the contrary, I am severely affected by autism, so if I can do it, the chances are that any non-speaker with autism can learn to think abstractly and communicate if we can figure out the tools they need, and put them within their ability to use them. Advocates and self-advocates for the non-speaking have started to ask the world to presume competence, by which they mean to expect us to understand rather than expecting us not to understand what's being said and what goes on in the world around us. It's very frustrating when people think we are not aware and not listening, but because of our apraxia, which makes it hard for us to look like we are paying attention, such is the fate of most of us, either sometimes or all our lives.